against Cure, the Terran pictured at left, who is currently 1-0 this season, 20 and 28 total.
So not over 50%, but still, you know, keeping with close to 50%, which is hard to do in a league like this, one of the best leagues that we do have here in Korea.
Right, when you're playing against the very best players in the world, if you have a 50% ratio, you've proven that you are one of the best. And if you're approaching 50%, you're definitely on an improvement streak.
You're getting up there. He did win his first game, so we're going to have to see how he does against this guy over here, Super. So far, 0-1 in Pro League overall. No games against Terran, though.
Nope, no games against Terran. And this guy is a really solid player if he gets to the late game, especially in this matchup. I almost feel you can compare him to Creator, or well, the old Creator Prime, or maybe to Rain. Just if he gets to the late game, he's going to have a great amount of storms. His storm control is solid. He's really on top of his upgrades, but he has to get there first. He used to be known as Vampire for you old StarCraft 2 fans. The map is up and loaded. It's our two-player map, Star Station TE. And let's get into this game right now. Cure versus Super, Terran versus Protoss. JINAIR Green Wings against MVP for Pro League 2014.
LTA는 SK텔레콤.
Down here in the bottom right. If he wins this match, JINAIR Green Wings will take it. The red Terran. This is Cure.
And up to the top left for MVP. It's Super, aka Vampire. And really, I mean, the thing about Vampire, aka Super, and he used to be known as Vampire for a really long time. That's why I keep calling him that.
Well, he does have the vampire hair.
He does.
That is one thing you can say. So
he could go Dracula.
If you guys are confused, he also does have the red MVP jersey stripes there, which kind of look like bloody fangs. You can kind of make
a stretch. You can make an argument, I guess.
You know, connect the dots there.
Anyways, I was gonna say that because he's never had a big win, a big result. Unless you follow GSTL closely, this name doesn't really ring a bell to you as one of the top Protosses in Korea. He's probably most famous for losing to Lion, aka Suho Shin, on Daybreak, I believe it was. Keller and I were commentating, and he scouted the Baneling All-In that was coming for him. He had plenty of sentries ready to defend, and then for some reason decided to pull all of his sentries from the main base to kill an Overlord right when the Baneling All-In came. Then barely survived and then lost to Mutalis in a crazy game, but that's probably his most famous moment, and it's not something to be famous for. He has been in Code S. He is a really good Protoss player, one of the better ones for MVP in GSTL, but he's got a lot to prove here, and playing against Cure, no easy feat to take this win.
Yeah, Cure, also a guy who's been around for a while. So far, 1-0 Pro League. Wants to extend that win streak, as a bunch of his other teammates do have, SOS having the losing streak, but Maru having that 5-win streak right now. Wants to join his turn, buddy. Gonna see how he does right now, going for that Street Reactor. Probably gonna get those 2 Reapers out.
You know, yeah, with the quick reactor here, he could go double Reaper.
It's a build that Flash has done in almost every game so far.
Yeah, it's something that he really likes to do. It's one of the safest ways to play against a Protoss, and it can oftentimes, if a Protoss plays too greedy, punish him. You know, if you want to send a Zealot, Stalker, Mothership Core across the map and the Reapers come in and start to attack your probes, that could be a problem. Does actually also drop the eBay block at the natural. This is going to really frustrate Super. Didn't cancel his Zealot, of course, because he saw this. This is one of the reasons why a Protoss player might keep his Zealot rather than canceling it. For those of you guys who wonder why the Protoss always start a Zealot and cancel it, if you don't get eBay blocked, then you don't really need the Zealot, and it's not going to be useful against the Reapers that come out. So there's the cancel. Going to drop the slightly delayed Nexus.
There it is. This pesky SCV still in the base just until that Stalker comes out. Gonna see what he can see. That gas is getting up as well. Second gas.
There's the CC going down, as well as the real eBay that will go into +1 very quickly, so that we can see that mid-game aggression from Cure. What these two Reapers want to identify is where are the pylons, where does Cure want to scout later, where does he maybe want to scan to see what sort of tech is coming out. You know, is he going to transition into oracles? Is he going to go into a blink play, or maybe even DTs? That's something he wants to be able to identify, and the first step is to find out where the pylons are so that later, when he comes back in, he knows exactly where he wants to check.
Could also scout out this pylon, see where, if he needs to, if he feels like it's dire, maybe throw down a scan, sacrifice one of those mules. You always want to get a good look at what the Protoss base is looking like. They have to build near those pylons, so it makes sense to find out where they are.
Yeah, you ask any player, even a Protoss player, what's the scariest part about Protoss? And even if you're playing a PvP, it's identifying the tech that the Protoss chooses, because the Protoss has so many viable techs to go into a push or a timing in the early game, and even into the mid game, that it's so important to identify what you're up against. And he sees the Twilight Council. But that's all he wanted to see.
Yep, the Reaper's going to go down, but he was just waiting for that Stalk Ground Patrol to move over to the right just a little bit. Sneaks in there, sees that Twilight Council coming down. It's going to be a fast blink.
Yep, this is a very scary timing that we may have here. What we see here is not the parting blink that we saw against Flash just yesterday, but the blink that comes as a more aggressive timing to attack. It's not going to be a blink that is with the third base with more Stalkers that's very threatening. It's just going to be something that Cure really needs to identify is coming his way. He's actually going to go ahead and walk across the map. He's saying the best defense is a good offense right now, just trying to poke a little bit. And eventually he's going to want to get his bunkers up. He wants to buy time until Stim gets out if possible. But it's all about the Blink Stalker micro here, and he doesn't have a whole lot of Marauders out.
Yeah, just getting 2 out just now. He is throwing down that bunker to be safe. He's going to be glad he did that, but he's got to prepare for this blink as well. Wants to maybe throw down one of those in his main base.
Yeah.
And
probably
he's going to do exactly that.
There's the one he wants. If he has a bunker here, if he can keep units on the top right of his main base plus units in the bunker, he should be able to stop any direct attacks. We have the robotics going up now as well. Kind of a great transition point for him. I want to know what the worker count is exactly, because he hasn't really been chrono boosting his probes as much as you would normally do if you weren't going for a timing. He doesn't have a forward warp in point either, as far as I can tell. So this may just be a little bit of a poke. There's the forward warp in point coming up. Even makes a bunker to the top right here. He's playing this super safe. And you have to as a Terran player against this.
No reason not to. We saw TY do similar stuff against, not the same build, but against Blink Stalkers. You always want to throw down those bunkers. You can always salvage them. Not for full cost, but you can get
nearly
some
full
stuff back. And it's always better to be safe than sorry. We've seen players lose to this even with delayed warp gate.
Yeah, we have seen that. Here's the thing. He's not committing. And he makes a pylon here so that he can continue to warp in units if he wants to. It also looks threatening if Cure gets a whiff of that pylon. He's like, wow, I mean, he does have a forward pylon. But what this does is it forces multiple bunkers, delays a third command center, and meanwhile back at home he's getting charged, he's getting robotic support bay, he's going to have a warp prism out so that he can go for harassment. As soon as Super takes a third base and Cure realizes, okay, I've kind of been duped here, but I had to play safe because that's how Terran works. If you have a Twilight Council, I have to take that seriously. He's going to want to counterattack, and that's when the warp prism comes in to try to turn him around with some Zealot harass. So this is a really cool build that we're seeing from Super right now. I like it a lot.
Yep, Super going to blink away just there. Looks like he wants to start that third base. Kier does. He's going to start that right next to that pylon, so it is going to get scouted. He is about to get 1-1, whereas Super is struggling to get that +1 to weapons just out.
Yeah, that's really a great point that you mentioned. I'm glad you mentioned that, because the upgrades for this Bioforce are insane. And that's something that Super really has to take into account when he does these little blink-ins. He's got to really calculate the difference in attack. That's not always going to be the case.
Yeah, I mean, these guys have practiced so many games, they know exactly how much damage a Bioforce is supposed to do, but not a Bioforce that has 1-1 at this time.
Yeah, you have to take that into consideration when you're doing your calculations. See, here he doesn't even try to poke anymore. He gets away. And here's that Zealot drop. It's going to hit right when Cure is trying to come out and stop that third Nexus. But he's already been scouted. I believe the Warp Prism was spotted earlier on, so it looks like he's going out to look for that. And this is not what I expected. He's actually committing to a ton of gateways here. I thought he was going to, with the Colossi, try to take a safe third base because he delayed his opponents so much. I wonder what's preempting him to do this. We'll see. He's going to go for the drop now, as the Terran Bio is actually not too far from home. He's got a little bit of units here in the main base just waiting for this.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I'm not sure exactly what's, preempting this kind of attack. He's going to have a ton of pressure with those gateways. Also has those 2 Colossi. So it is a scary push. Pure definitely has to prepare for this, but if he can hold this off, he's going to have that 3rd base up, and it's going to be a really nice position for him.
Army-wise, Super's army is insanely strong right now. He's going to lose a little bit of it here with the Zealot drop. 3 Zealots will go down. He's going to trade okay against these Marines. He's actually going to go for the Warpin in the main here. And this is going to draw this army back. And actually, this is a smart move because with this, he trades okay. He's confusing this army. It turns around. Now he's going to get a good setup over here. If he can save the Warp Prism, he can use that as a warping point. He's going to force a lift on this 3rd command center easy.
Yeah, that Warp Prism carrying some Zealots into the 2nd. He's going to lift that command center. Those SCVs are going to run to the top right. They're going to be chased by Blink Stalkers. They're not going to get away. Nice little attack out of Super.
If Super's really not going to commit to this, I'd like to see a 3rd Nexus going up right now while he's got all this pressure here.
He stopped probes. He was at 51. Now he has 50.
He really wants to commit, it seems. Warps in a ton of Zealots at home to continue the attack.
He does have charge as well as blink. He has a +1 to attack. I'm not sure about if armor went up. It is getting up just now.
It's getting closer, yeah.
Getting that Colossus as well, that extra one.
Depending on how this goes, he may tie up the upgrades, but hold that thought as the Colossi do start the engage. Time Warp goes down, and that Mothership Core is actually tanking those Viking shots, so the Colossi can do a little bit of extra damage. Now he's on the run, and here come those Zealots we were talking about earlier. That forward warping point is up as well, and Super looks poised to potentially tie up this series right now. That 3rd command center has to lift once more if he wants to keep it alive. It looks like he's just going to lose it, trying to buy as much time as he can because he is in dire straits right now. The upgrade's almost even, and Cure needs a little bit more time if he wants to take the lead with 2-1 to the 1-1 that's about to finish right now. Not quite ready for Super, but he's not going to wait. Goes for the engagement right now. Zealots are tanking.
Fighting with the SCVs as well, and with these 4 Colossi in the back and barely any Vikings on the map now. This is just too much to deal with that as a Protoss player. He's going to bring it to the ace match for MVP.
Solid play from Super. Really unusual Protoss play, a late timing here, but GG. He was able to pick so much off with his pressure and really delay what Cure was trying to build because he forced all those bunkers, he delayed the 3rd base, he forced the 3rd base to lift. He never really lost any of his units. He just kept his Stalkers alive and was sneaking those Colossi a little bit faster than I think Cure expected them to. And yes, he was trying to get Vikings out there at the last second, but it was just a little bit late. And that was really a tempo game. That's, I think, the best way to describe it. It's just the tempo that was set by Super really gave Cure some trouble to get the army up that he needed. I mean, if you looked at the army supplies, well, you guys couldn't, but I mean, I could tell you just from looking at those 2 armies next to each other and the composition with a lack of